Let's look at the computation megatrend. First off, read this disclaimer carefully and do your good deed of the day by liking and subscribing. We will go here to the megatrend that is called computation. If we look here at the performance, average is pretty good. We will specifically look at Oracle. They are in the cloud computing business. Decent move here from the low at 52-week highs. So let's look at the company's website. So they have, a big focus here on the cloud on their front page, cloud infrastructure, application. Yeah, so big into the cloud. Here you can see, their products. Yeah, definitively a company in the computation business. We will start by looking here at the charts. This is the very long-term picture, weekly data points, and something you see is that I have drawn in these cycle patterns. So you have the major cycles that have been rather consistent for a long period. So very clear cyclicality here. And then within the major cycles, you tend to have smaller ones. Here I have drawn in 3. Based on the cyclicality, we do expect a pullback, both when it comes to the small cycle and the major cycle. So that is something that, to be aware of. When we look at the long-term performance, you can see the percentage gain here, over 107,000%. That is obviously pretty darn good performance. But within this time frame, we have seen, very gut-wrenching pullbacks. One of the things about Oracle is that it likes to have substantial pullbacks within an overall bull market. If we look at this pullback here, it was, minus 27-ish. That's pretty substantial. Even recently, it has had, some, aggressive pullbacks like this one. All of a sudden, we approach, a minus 10% pullback. So definitively, Oracle is the kind of stock that you want to buy on a dip. And, there's been quite a few times where it's been very shortable on a rip. The thing that is happening currently is that we do have a very high RSI. And you can see here that the tendency for Oracle quite clearly is to be, very sensitive actually to overbought or RSI. Also oversold RSI. But you can see that throughout this entire time frame, and we are going back here to 2001, it doesn't stay overbought for long. It is very reactive, so that is very tradable. We also here have the PPO, which is the distance between price and the 200-week moving average in red. And you can see that we are at a very high level that has triggered some of the more epic corrections. That's relevant. Very strong correlation here with the S&P 500. Looking here at the daily data points. So here we measure in the PPO the distance between price and the red 200-day moving average. And you can see that we are currently at a very, very high level. If we go way back here to 2011, we saw this high level combined with a high RSI before, a rather epic pullback, approximately from here to here, minus 38%. Okay, so that is relevant. It simply is. So yeah, currently, right here and right now, are the bulls in control or are they not? Yes, they are obviously in control, but even looking at the most recent history, okay, like here, it is very obvious by looking at the chart that Oracle is sensitive to overbought levels. You can buy it on a pullback towards a key moving average. You can see here that the blue 100-day moving average has been a rather good level to buy. It really likes to pull back there. Good buy level, but the rips, those euphoric rallies, they tend to be rather beneficial for bears. Okay, but let's explore further. So let's now go to the seasonality, okay, so here's the seasonality for Oracle. So April is a super month for Oracle. It closes higher 80% of the time. That is obviously very impressive. But you can quite clearly see that it gets substantially weaker here heading towards September. So there's a very clear seasonality, which in this instance would be beneficial for bears. Looking at Finviz, you can see that they draw a trend channel. You see that the upper end here of the channel, you see that price is very sensitive. There's a strong tendency to be rejected and have a pullback. That is relevant. Looking at average price target, the analysts, they suggest a minus 5% pullback from the current level. Not really dramatic. Though when you take into account that many of the analysts are very bullish on anything relating to semiconductors, computing, then the very fact that they even have, a bit of a bearish price target, and some of the latest ones like Wedbush here, they have a $54 price target. That is, substantially lower, so yeah. Okay, if we go here to Saks.com, they have a number 2 buy, a C value degrowth, but they do have an F momentum, and this is more their timing score. So yeah, that is beneficial towards to the bears. Industry rank top 35%. Stock does pay a dividend, but it's a meager 1.70%. So yeah, it's not like one of those dividends that is so big that it in and of itself is a reason to hold. Beta is actually a bit lower than the market. Okay, so to sum up my take here on Oracle. So the theme computation is something that it's very hard to become bearish on. So yeah, I do think that the demand for more computational power will definitively increase into the foreseeable future. However, when we look here at Oracle, it is very clear that when you look at the technicals we got in the charts and also on Finviz, it is very clear that we currently have a high risk situation for the bulls. The seasonality was also very indicative of more bearish times on the horizon. Not like dramatically bearish, but just we do expect a pullback. Saks, they were a bit mixed, but overall there was a bearish sentiment, especially when you look at the momentum score. So basically, looking long term, Oracle is at a very high level, and many stock markets are at a very high level. So long term, I do think that there's a risk of a more bearish direction. But then again, bubbles, they can go higher than you expect. So we got to be a bit careful about long-term expectations. But when you look at the shorter term, I think that the data was quite overwhelming here. There's a very high probability of a pullback. And we did find, that key moving average, which has been a good entry opportunity for bullish positions. So you could have like a bearish position to benefit from the pullback. And when we hit, some key support level, then you know that okay, there tends to be bulls showing up here. So yeah. So that's my take. To gain access to all the research, you just go here. Strongly recommended. There's been some really spectacular calls here in this subscription, and the courses and seminars are developing. So definitively something to consider, because it's very important to be aware that everyone spends money on research. I do it. Everyone, it is definitively a thing, and the huge benefit by subscribing to research is that you save time. You get more ideas that can be completely new to you, but also ideas that can corroborate what you are already considering. So this is definitively something to consider.